Hello, I'm Ryan Macasero, multimedia reporter for Rappler. Good day to everyone. Today, magdi-discuss tayo tungkol sa designation ng Philippine government kay Negros Oriental 3rd District Representative Arnie Teves as a terrorist. This is the first time that a sitting official has been designated a terrorist by the Anti-Terror Council, which has only been uh, 1 or 2 years. They released their resolution number 43 today, August 1, and it was signed last July 26, designating Arnie Teves, who is the suspect in the assassination of former Negros Oriental Governor Roel Digamo and 9 others in Pamplona town last March 4. So magfo-focus tayo dito sa designation as a terrorist. This has been a 5-month story that we've been covering since the assassination in March. It's been taking a lot of twists and turns, and there are a lot of confusing elements in this story that we've been covering. So let's focus on why the government decided to go for designating Teves and his alleged cohorts as terrorists as well, and what does it mean not only for Teves and his cohorts, but for the rest of us in the country. So again, the Anti-Terror Council released resolution number 43 on August 1, tagging Teves as a terrorist. And this resolution also included his brother, Pride Henry Teves, who was the sitting governor at the time when the COMELEC in 2022 unseated him over a election, not a protest, but declaring a candidate, a nuisance candidate who had a similar name as Roel Digamo, unseating Pride Henry Teves who only served as governor for a few months before he was unseated by Roel Digamo. So the political rivalry between the Teveses and Digamo hit a peak at that time and culminated in the Pamplona massacre on March 4, 2023, when armed gunmen who looked like highly trained people who were possibly trained by the military entered the compound of the Digamo family in Pamplona town, where they were distributing aid to families who were beneficiaries of the 4 Ps program. Now, most of the suspects have already been arrested, and they were also included in this designation of. They were also designated as terrorists, and let me name the others who were also named as terrorists in the resolution. They are Rogelio Antipolo, Romel Pataguan, Winrich, Asturias, John Louis Gonyon, Daniel Lora, Eugelio Gonyon, and Eugelio Gonyon Jr. These are 7 out of the 11 suspected gunmen who were named as part of the Teves terrorist group. There were also 3 others who were not directly involved or who were not tagged as gunmen in the shooting, but had allegedly had roles in the Pamplona massacre and as well as other killings in Negros Oriental province. So they are Nigel Electona, who is a former Negros Oriental policeman who also later became the head of security for Henry Teves's sugar mill in Bayawan City, Negros Oriental. A certain Jo Marie Catubay and a Hannah May Sumero Oray. So what does this mean? According to the anti-terror law, this gives the government the right to freeze assets of anyone on the resolution that was designated as a terrorist. So for Arnie Teves, who has been on the run for the past several months, he actually left the Philippines even before the Pamplona massacre on March 4 and refused to come back, leading to 2 suspensions in the House of Representatives. So this means that the government can freeze his assets and the assets of his brother, Henry Teves, as well. And depending on where Arnie Teves is, he was last known to be in Timor-Leste, where he applied for political asylum and then was later denied. Unclear kung nasaan siya ngayon, pero kung nasa bansa siya na member ng United Nations, the Philippines can ask for extradition and would compel these governments to um, they would try to compel the government to hand him over to the Philippines, even without an existing warrant of arrest. So the proceedings for to it, to declare Teves a terrorist began around April. So the murder cases, multiple murder cases, and the uh, initiating proceedings or meetings at the Anti-Terror Council to declare Teves a terrorist were happening simultaneously. So it appears that the move to designate him a terrorist is a way to corner him and to make it more difficult for him to continue his life abroad. Arnie Teves is a very wealthy congressman, and so he has assets all over Negros Oriental province, and I'm sure in other parts of the country. So he would need to access these funds in order to keep on living abroad, and freezing his assets. The government believes is one way to compel him to come home and face the complaints against him. He's facing multiple murder complaints, not only for the Pamplona massacre, but there he faces other complaints in the 2019 uh, in 2019 killings of a former Negros Oriental board member, Miguel Dungog, and two others as well, which came actually before the cases filed against him and the other suspects for the assassination of Roel Digamo. So let's look at how the anti-terror law describes terrorism. So, the effect of the terrorist should have a debilitating impact on on national defense and security, national economy, public health or safety, and the administration of justice and other functions analogous thereto. It may include, but not be limited to, an asset or system affecting telecommunications, water, energy supply, emergency services, food, fuel supply, banking, and finance. So it's unclear how the Teves group would have an impact on national security, but the Anti-Terror Council points to the use of private armed groups and its destabilizing effects in the provinces. So, an interesting part of the resolution was on how the Anti-Terror Council justified its creative use of the anti-terror law. It said that it its designation is based on relevant facts and evidence gathered against Teves and members of his cohorts. And it said that the language used in the Anti-Terror Act's definition of the word terrorism is meant to evolve. So it's not being used in a strict sense where the country would usually look at extremist groups who use armed violence, like the Abu Sayyaf group, and previously it designated the New People's Army as a terrorist group. So it's also the first time that we're seeing the anti-terror law applied to a politician who allegedly is using a private armed group to maintain his political dominance in the province of Negros Oriental. So, uh, if this sets precedent, there are still private armed groups all around the country in different provinces. So, this perhaps sends a message to other politicians in the provinces who are using private armies. And again, the ATC called Teves's group the Teves terrorist group, and it said that they believe that this is an organized group because there's an organizational structure, strict command and control mechanism, and that they said Teves was allegedly the leader and mastermind of the group, while his brother Pride Henry, the former governor, and Nigel Electona allegedly provided material support to this group. Um, and it was pointed out earlier in the press conference of the Anti-Terror Council in Malacanang that the designation has come before the anyone has even been indicted, so it's still far away from a conviction, and yet these individuals have been named terrorists by the Anti-Terror Council. Uh, Assistant Secretary Miko Clavano pointed out that in the anti-terror law, the threshold for designation is lower than the threshold for needed for a conviction in court. In the anti-terror law, all that you need to establish is probable cause, while in court, the threshold is guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. So it's still a lengthy process. So some say that this designating Teves as a terrorist might be cutting corners, and this is also the what Teves's lawyer uh, Freddie Papasha said earlier that he thinks that this is a weaponization of the anti-terror law. So I wanted to share with you what some of the accused, how they responded to being designated terrorists. So Nigel Electona's lawyer, Michael Melia, says that declaring his client Nigel Electona as terrorist has no factual and legal anchorage. It smacks of oppression and abuse of power and the exact paradigm of capricious disregard of due process. Russell Miraflor, who is the lawyer of some of the alleged gunmen, Antipolo, Pataguan, and Laura, says that this appears to be putting the cart before the horse. Lawyer for Henry Teves, a high-profile lawyer, Raymond Fortune, says that they will avail of legal remedies for delisting Teves under the anti-terror law, and is hopeful that the reasons provided will be favorably considered. He said that Pride Henry Teves was a victim of a terroristic act in 2005, and he's referring to the bombing in the House of Representatives in 2005, which injured Teves. As if you've seen photos or videos of him, you'll see that his injuries caused his hand to swell, and it's still very swollen until now. So he said, of all people, he would be the last to embrace acts that almost cost him his life. On the other side, lawyer for Pamplona Town Mayor Janice Degamo is also high profile, Levito Baligod. He said that the families of murder victims are hopeful that their quest for justice will conclude with the imprisonment of all responsible. Now, it's important to remember that the anti-terror law is not yet a court case, so that will still come through the murder trial of Arnie Teves and his alleged co-conspirators in the assassination of Roel Digamo. She said, "Dalaygon ang buhi nga Diyos," which means in Cebuano that God is alive. And she previously said that she supported designating Teves and his alleged co-conspirators as terrorists, as she believed that's the uh, quicker way to achieve justice, as the trial has yet to even reach arraignment. So again, this there's still a long way to go in the um, investigation and trial against Teves and for the assassination of Roel Digamo. Another interesting thing that the Anti-Terror Council pointed out is that they believe that the assassination and the Pamplona massacre is only one of many killings that have happened in Negros Oriental and attributed it to an uh, organized groups, and that these killings are meticulously planned, and that they believe that it's important to use the anti-terror law to suppress these kinds of violent acts. But I'm sure there are groups who will also raise concern with how how this law is being applied creatively, not to a traditionally terrorist group, but to a congressman. That's not to defend Arnie Teves himself. We don't know uh, eh, exactly, or we are not in court to to say if he's guilty or not. But again, there is a judicial system in this country for a reason. So we will continue to monitor this case, and we will continue to cover this story, which appears that it will be continuing for a very it will still continue for the next couple of months. Hopefully, justice will be served not only for the victims of the Pamplona massacre, but all of the unsolved killings, not only in Negros Oriental, but throughout the entire country. So, if you want to catch up with what happened today with the designation of Arnie Teves and his alleged co-suspects in the killings, you can read our stories on Rappler and continue to follow our coverage in the months ahead. So I'm Ryan Macasero. I am the reporter assigned to cover the Degamo assassination. So we hope you keep following us, and thank you for watching Rappler Recap.